last, it's official. Thanks to the generous help of the United States government, we are about to be involved in the greatest real estate swindle of all time.
Lex, what is this obsession with real estate? All the time, land, land, land.
Miss Desmacher, when I was 6 years old, my father said to me...
Get out.
Before that, he said, son, stocks may rise and fall. Utilities and transportation systems may collapse. People are no damn good. But they will always need land, and they'll pay through the nose to get it. Remember, my father said...
Land.
Chris Scalzo here with
Matt Howell.
And featuring superstar special guest. This is where you introduce yourself.
I'm Darin Lundberg. Superstar, I don't know about that, but...
That's what I say. That's right. Darin is here from NostalgiaCast. And is it Back to Bluey?
Back to Bluey.
That probably?
That's correct.
Now, that's the Australian show, right? It's an animated show for the kids, but I don't have any kids. I got a dog. She doesn't watch a lot of cartoons. She's mostly focused on Westminster stuff and occasional baseball games. But so you do that with Robert, right? From
That's right.
What the hell's Robert doing? Oh my
Crooked
God,
Table. Crooked Table.
Thank you, Crooked Table. Thank you. So that you're going through all the episodes of that show, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
Matt, did you watch Bluey? You have a daughter who was young at one point.
Yeah, she was never into Bluey. Man, what was she into? Wasn't Bluey though. I think
Matt was having her watch like Real Housewives, like at like 7.
Yeah, right.
And then of course there's also the fantastic NostalgiaCast, where you and Johnny, and then I guess we'll talk about some other. Why don't you talk about yourself instead of me running through your CV? So tell us a little bit about you, please.
Well, you were a revered guest on NostalgiaCast. You were on for our Superman episode, which is cool because of the intro that we just heard. But yeah, so NostalgiaCast, we started off looking at movies like from our childhoods that we hadn't seen since we were kids. Like you find it in a $5 movie bin at Walmart, and you're like, I haven't seen this forever. It's the price of a rental, right? And so you take it home, and you're like, oh, this is terrible, or oh, this holds up better than I remember. And then we just kind of got tired of covering movies that nobody had ever heard of. And so now we've kind of graduated, because you can be nostalgic about the movies that you love too, right? And so we did like a 90s Palooza season where we looked at all, because Johnny and I kind of cut our teeth on movies during the 90s, and so we wanted to revisit those. And so those are movies that a lot of people know about, as opposed to just these obscure things that nobody ever watches or bothers with. And so now we're doing another we did 70s movies, which is great, and now we're doing another 90s season. So it's just about going back and revisiting, just having better conversations instead of trying to find something to say, I guess, about the movies that we cover.
Nice. And again, you can find that at NostalgiaCast. Is it .libsyn.com?
That's correct. That's the main site.
And then what the Bluey one? Where's that one? I'm lazy and I did not bring up.
I think it's the same. It's also on Libsyn. So Back to Bluey.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main site. If you just type in Back to Bluey, it's going to get you to the main thing. So.
Look at you. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And this week on The First Run, Matt, Darin, and I are going to discuss Milana Vayntrub's latest film, Project Hail Mary, featuring Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller, directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the team behind the Spider-Verse series. Does Ms. Vayntrub finally get the recognition she deserves as one of the planet's preeminent actors, comedians, and greatest all-around human beings? Is this gag barely amusing, given the disturbing amount of online sexual harassment that woman has received? Quite possibly. So we're going to move on then and spend a few minutes here to talk about Project Hail Mary. And Matt, I don't have my soundboard up. Here it is. Here you go. Go.
Sun is dying. You are the only scientist who might know what this says.
I'm just a teacher at Grover Cleveland Middle.
You have a doctorate in molecular biology. I need you to come with us. This is Project Hail Mary. The sun is not the only star dying. Every star was infected by its neighbor, except one.
Why?
We don't know. Which is why we built a ship to go there and find out.
It's 11.9 light years away. The astronauts die in space.
It's what you Americans would call a long shot.
Hail Mary. I get it. Who on earth is going to sign up for this?
If we do nothing, everything on this planet will go extinct.
You'll find a solution.
You are my solution.
I put the knot in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a spacewalk. I can't even moonwalk.
That Ryan Gosling's a funny guy. I like him. So, Matt, as always, since I wrote the intro, you get to describe what is Project Hail Mary all about.
Well, that little clip was a pretty good intro, but essentially it is the near future. Scientists discover that what they call black dots, which turn out to be some kind of single-cell life form, are siphoning energy off of our sun, which is causing it to dim, which will cause the Earth to cool, which will kill everything on the planet. So they do a survey of the galactic neighborhood, discover that this one star, Tau Ceti, is the only one that is not infected. So they send a bunch of astronauts on a suicide mission to figure out why. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that when they get there, there's somebody else already there trying to do the same thing, and it's another alien, and essentially we have a bro down in space.
That's exactly how I would describe it. I think it should go on the video box, the VHS cover.
Mm-hmm.
Bro down in space. I like that.
That's
great.
So, Darin, let me ask you. This film was being described as like an instant heartwarming classic, something entertaining for the whole family, and heartwarming, tear-jerking, very funny, just a great old-fashioned kind of adventure film. How did it fall for you? What were your thoughts on Project Hail Mary? Is it like one of the best films of 2026 so far? What do you think?
Well, out of the movies that have been released, it's the best because I think it's the first 2026 movie that I've seen. So yeah, we'll count that.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess I want to describe it like we saw it with a big crowd, and it's a great crowd movie, especially in today's age where I'm afraid more and more that people are going to be on their phones and chatting through everything. But they were laughing at all the great parts. They were silent during the tense parts. You could hear people sobbing during the sad parts. It reminded me when my wife and I walked out, I was like, that reminded me a lot of Top Gun Maverick in theaters, where it was like a communal kind of blockbuster crowd pleaser, and everybody was just laughing and crying and cheering at the exact right parts. And I from that perspective, I loved it. I was like, that's what I want to go to movies for, so I can have that great, communal experience. And so I think as I don't know if I describe it as a family movie. People are describing it that way. What's it even rated? I thought it was PG-13, but there's not a lot of bad stuff in it, right? I mean, it gets tense and scary at some parts, but I don't know if calling it family movie is derogatory, if that's going to keep people away, but it's like a 4-quadrant kind of movie that kind of suits I don't know. I just think it's a very good blockbuster. And
it is PG-13, right about that. And I wouldn't consider family movie like classic kind of Disney fare type thing. No. There are certainly some adult themes and edges to it for sure, but there's nothing overly unsettling. There's no real violence per se, right? There's no gore. There's no sex, which I'm sure Matt was very upset about. No nudity. Not a single. I don't think there was. You can have one, right? But I didn't remember hearing a single F-bomb, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
so.
I guess that depends on if it's sexual or something. I'm pretty sure that ties in somewhere. But it's. I think because it's Miller and Lord, this is a movie that I loved it and I liked it a lot. I had some issues with it. It reminded me maybe a little bit too much of some other movies, but because it's Miller and Lord, I think it's a movie that when I watch it a couple more times, I'm going to pick up on a bunch of other things that'll make it a better movie. But the main thing is, even though it reminded me of other movies, that relationship between Grace and Rocky is, sorry for the pun, it's out of this world, right? I mean, it's how do you have chemistry with a rock puppet? And Gosling pulls that off, and it's just very, out of everything, that relationship just really does it for me. And so, obviously we'll talk about that a little bit more, but I just think my kind of pocket review for it is maybe a little too much like other movies, but that relationship, the central relationship, the bro down, as Matt calls it, is what makes it worthwhile and what's going to make me go back and watch it a few more times at least.
I think it's one thing I'm stuck on, which we'll come back to too, is about, you're saying everybody was cheering at the right moments and laughing at the right moments, and maybe the tears at the right moments is all at the same time too. In fact, I saw this on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and I had a packed theater. This thing has done exceptionally well financially, which I'm happy to see. Matt, what about you? What were your encapsulated thoughts there?
Yeah, so I think it's an entertaining movie, right? So this is based on a book by Andy Weir, which I haven't read, but it's much more out there than his previous film, The Martian, right? So, this has aliens, multiple kinds of aliens traveling to a different star, somehow. I was really annoyed. I was really trying to figure out how in the hell did he get there with relativistic speed? Like, if it's 12 light years away, wouldn't it be like 200 years have passed by the time he got back to Earth? So I had to spend a little time looking up how that worked. But I think all of that's kind of quickly abandoned. It's relatively... It's got a glazing of hard sci-fi in it, right? Just enough to kind of make it seem sort of plausible. But essentially, this is a riff on E.T., right? And I think Ryan Gosling is charming enough. He's a good actor, enough to somebody that you're going to root for. And I was on board with this thing. Now, I think maybe it runs 20 minutes too long, maybe 30. Maybe out of the 3 or 4 fake endings we got, they could have just picked one and maybe jettisoned it, right? But overall, it's very entertaining. It's pretty much a feel-good film. It's got stakes. It's got kind of high adventure action, and I think it's just a crowd pleaser film. Now, I don't know if I wouldn't say it's a great film, but it's a very enjoyable film, and it's one that I can see will have people watching it as like, oh, this is a good sci-fi film. This is a film, for the dwindling people that still have cable. It's going to show up on TBS on a Sunday afternoon every weekend at like 2:00, and people will watch it, right? So overall, I had a good time with it.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with both of you about that as well. All right, so Matt, you hadn't read the book. Darin, have you read the book at all? Because I have not.
No, I read The Martian. I've got a copy of it, but I just haven't been able to get to it yet. And from what I understand, it's a lot like the book, and so maybe just the voice will be a little bit different. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to really dig into it yet.
Fair enough. I agree with everything basically you gentlemen have said. I think I enjoy the fact that I think it was smart that they did puppetry with Rocky instead of using CGI. I think that gives Gosling something to really bounce off and play with. And I didn't realize, too, I was watching a couple things about this, that James Ortiz, who voices and puppets Rocky, at that point, he wasn't going to be the voice. They were still trying to figure out what they're going to do for the voice. And him and Gosling were kind of going back and forth and with the line readings and stuff. And they really developed a rapport together. And eventually, when they hit on the voice, and Ortiz ended up getting the role, just because the two of them were so in sync as well as acting pairs, which I think is fun. But it's really, I think, beneficial to the film for it to actually have been a physical puppet instead of CGI. Giving him something to really work with, I think, helps out a lot. And if there's any issue I have with it, there's maybe 2 things. It's almost a little too well crafted at times, where I feel like cliched isn't the right word, but the beats we're gonna hit, and it kind of crosses almost over into emotional manipulation, a little heavy-handed at times. Then it's feeling kind of natural to me, particularly the ending of the film when we find out what happens to Grace as well. It's a little too rote and a little too pat for me. Which, I mean, maybe if that's how the book ends, that's how the book ends, and great. But I do feel a little bit like that at times, that it's just a little too just traditional in that style. I mean, I do like the fact that he broke up the timeline, so we get flashbacks of how we ended up getting where he was, so we don't have a straightened, linear narrative, which I always appreciate. And he handles that well. Sometimes you can drop the ball on something like that, but I think that Lord and Miller did a good job with that. And another issue maybe is just the cliched insertion of pop songs to help balance mood or to evoke certain emotions as well. It's fine, but the needle drops it's just not as organic for me, I think, as I would like. So that's what I would say. The crafting of it with those emotional scenes, and then the music. And it does take a while for us to kind of kick into gear.
Yeah.
Right. We spend quite a lot of time once Gosling wakes up kind of figuring out what's happened and what he's supposed to be doing and everything. Maybe a little bit too long, or developing the relationship with Rocky. Maybe runs, like Matt says, not particularly that, but runs like a good 10 minutes longer than maybe it needed to. Overall, I mean, Gosling's, I think, at the top of his game. His charm and charisma is full wattage, I think, throughout this thing. And we even get one of those patented Gosling screams, which I love.
Yeah.
I don't know. And particularly the scene, too, that I liked, where the revelation that how we ended up where he is, I think adds some kind of real gravity and humanity to his character. kind of really grounds him for me, instead of him being just this affable guy willing to do the right thing to save the world type of a thing. So yeah, overall, there's definitely a lot more here that I enjoyed than I dislike.
Mm-hmm.
So Darin, was there anything else too that maybe was a detriment or a negative to the film for you?
Well, like I said, I agree with you. It may be a little too traditional. Like the part where he first finds Rocky and he's knocking, I was like, oh, here comes a jump scare, right? And so that does happen. And I laugh because I could see it coming. So I agree with it's a little bit too comfortable, traditional with stuff, and that's fine. But I guess that goes with my issue is that I have a problem, and movies keep doing this the more that they make them. But I have a problem when they remind me of other movies, because sometimes well, I'd rather be watching that movie. So there's Interstellar in here. There's a bit of Contact in here. There's Gravity. There's Castaway, right? There's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like you talked about Gosling. Like you look at Bob Hoskins and Roger Rabbit, like how did he, like they picked the right guy to play off of all the pretend characters that aren't there, right? And he has honest chemistry with Roger and with Bugs Bunny of all things and all these other characters. And so I was just amazed. I agree that some of it's very cliched, right? Some of it's very traditional. But as soon as it kicks him with that Rocky stuff, and even when he was like, Carl is the security guard, I thought it was a very charming, likable movie. When they're getting along and they're shopping at the Home Depot and they're eating Skittles and they're building stuff together and they're juggling the tape, and it's like, that's very charming, and it keeps the movie from being boring. And then when it gets to the Rocky stuff, I like how it spends time with them, like how there's a 5-minute sequence where they try to figure out his voice. And a lot of movies won't do that. A lot of movies will just move to the point. But I like how they're like, oh, this is my voice, like scary. And like they did the Meryl Streep joke and stuff. Like I really appreciated that they spent time doing that. Or the part that I really laughed at is when when Grace is talking into his diary, and he's like, what he does is he'll tell me how to do something and tell me to do it, and then when I do it, he asks, what are you doing? And I started laughing. I just laughed so hard. But it's there's all that. It's just so charming for so much of it, and I don't know. It gets to the part where Grace finally tells Rocky, this is a one-way trip, I'm not going back. And they have that conversation where Rocky's like, you lied to me. And like, how do we figure this out? And there's a real bonding moment with them, and it's really emotional. And I wasn't expecting that. So even though there's a lot of the traditional stuff, and again, truth be told, I think I like it better than Interstellar.
Really?
I think it's more enjoyable. Because, Christopher Nolan, and I say this as somebody who loves Memento and loves Dunkirk, and the Dark Knight trilogy is my favorite take on Batman. I just think that Nolan's maybe a bit too self-serious a lot of the time, and it's too like really heavy. And so Interstellar, like you have that great part where the McConaughey character Coop is watching the tapes from his kids, wordless, right? Except from his kids, you see the emotion on his face. But then you have the scene. It always bugged me where Anne Hathaway talks about what love is, and I'm like, this is so like leaden the way that she's delivering this monologue, and also I didn't need it because I already got that what she's talking about through the scene with McConaughey, right? So again, just a little bit of the Interstellar just was a little bit too self-serious. I liked that this had the same. It got me more emotional, but it was more, again, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen with Rocky. But again, my wife was crying, and it reminded me of Castaway. So like I'm crying over a prop again. You know what I mean? Like, like how that's not happenstance in a movie. Why Gosling has such good chemistry with, again, a rock puppet. That's what I'm going to take away from the movie. Like all the science and questions, like The Martian is I love The Martian. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I've watched that. They put it on Netflix starting in October, and I think I watched it every other night when I was editing or doing, because it was just the idea of positivity and the idea of people working together to solve a goal is just very uplifting. And it's the same thing here, right? And so even though the science isn't to sound like The Martian explains every little bit, so you know what the whole journey that the characters are going through. Here I felt like I didn't understand the science, and you're just like, oh, okay, they just discovered that. I guess we're going with this now, you know what I mean? And so that was another issue, is like I didn't really understand what was happening, but because the characters understood it, I just went with it, you know what I mean? And so, but that's basically all my kind of quibbles about the movie I just toss aside, because the enjoyable stuff in here is so good, and it's so, I don't know, you don't feel that from a lot of movies. They don't take the time to give you that emotion and feeling and camaraderie, and that's what the movie's about, right? So I love the part, again, how into spoilers, do we keep away from spoilers a lot of the time here? But
typically we try to, but
the last line where Rocky says, "We figured out a solution for you," and Grace says, "Let me think about it," right? And so, and Rocky says, "Well, think about it for as long as you want." I was like, "Oh, that's you get such a good uplifting feeling from it," and I think that's something that we need more of.
Yeah,
I think today. So that's what I really appreciated about it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair too, because even like I say that maybe that scene kind of ran a couple minutes too long. It's also important because you're building that rapport and that relationship between the two characters, right?
Yeah.
So no, that's a fair point. And Matt, what about you? Is there anything else you wanted to tack on to that you think maybe? Well, you talked about how maybe it was running a little long, and
yeah, I mean, I think I like the term that you guys use, that it's a very traditional kind of storytelling, and I think that's exactly right. I wouldn't necessarily call it cliche because it didn't really bother me, right? Mm-hmm. But it was a very kind of throwback film, and I think I read something online that basically said this is Interstellar if Ryan Gosling's characters from The Nice Guy was the main character. And that's basically what this is. And if you're on the level of that, then you're on it. And I think this film, basically lives and dies on the relationship that Rocky and Grace develop. And by the sheer fact that, somehow he figures out a way to essentially translate this echolocation language or whatever, and they just kind of roll with it and let it happen. And I guess, I think the movie's all the better for it. I think this is an entertaining, feel-good film, as Darin said, in a time when basically everything is horrible. So, if you can get a little bit of, perspective, or at least something that makes you entertained and feel a little bit of hope for 2.5 hours, then you know what, it can't be so bad, right?
No, that's very true. And so a couple of things. From what I understand with the science, Hüller was very focused on having a couple levels of legitimacy with the science in this. And then I guess once you dig down deep enough, then it's all entirely made up. It doesn't But he wanted to have some legitimacy in that. And I watched a video on YouTube with on a channel with at Dr. Becky.
Ah, yes.
DRBECKY. And she actually interviews a bunch of the stars and Hüller and a bunch of other stuff too. And they talk about the physics behind all this. She's an astrophysicist herself. Is that astrophysicist, right? That's how you say that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So it's very fun little video. It's basically 20 minutes long. But I guess the whole thing with the travel matters because as you're moving forward, right, through it's the creatures that give you the propulsion and the energy that allows you to move at the speed of light. But you're also going faster as you go. That's why it goes from 12 years to 4 for them, I guess, is what the logic is.
It's basically, instead of traveling at the speed of light, what they're doing is, which I guess is theoretically possible, you're constantly accelerating at a certain rate. And then at some point, you basically flip around and you start decelerating at that rate. And you never actually get to relativity type speed or relativistic speeds, but somehow it works out, and I don't pretend to understand the science, but apparently it's a thing. So I guess you can do that. Whereas instead of it being like 200 years, only 3 years have passed, or 4 years have passed on Earth, as opposed to the 12 that passed for them. So instead of the 250 years that would have passed if they had gone the speed of light, kind of thing.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work like that. I can't figure that kind of stuff out, unfortunately. And as I always like to talk about the score, I thought the music on this was Daniel Pemberton provides it. And he tried to avoid synthesizers. He tried to use real-life objects to simulate the sounds, which I thought was really fun. And I like it. The score really kind of bops along quite often, right? It's poppy in a way and entertaining, and then gets serious when it needs to. And then, of course, we have the needle drops as well. But I really did appreciate the music in this film. I think it was a really good job of kind of moving things along, keeping things moving. So
somebody said it would be suitable for Epcot. Like if you heard that music in Epcot Center, it would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing too that I didn't realize. So when Sandra Hüller has that karaoke moment, which is I think really integral to the film. In fact, that song kind of carries through right the rest of the movie. I had no idea that was a Harry Styles song.
Right.
I first heard it, I'm like, oh, is that like an Oasis song? What is that? I am so out of touch with the kids and the music today. Mm-hmm. But that's a very good kind of fun song, which made me think. So Darin, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Well, if anything, it would be a They Might Be Giants song. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
I know
They Might
of
Be
them.
Yeah, I can sing those backwards and forwards. The song, what was Sign of the Times, I agree with you. Like the singers these days, I'm like, I don't want to get like Dua Lipa or anybody else that you're mentioning. It's like, I don't want to get caught up in this stuff, or even Taylor Swift. And then there's a Taylor Swift song that you hear and you're like, gosh dang it, I kind of like that one. And then I went home and I was like, I want this song, and it's like, oh, Harry Styles? I don't want a Harry Styles song on my phone. But it's, you have to, I guess there's only so much of that you can resist. But yeah, it's a very good song, and you're right. I don't do you know if they picked it specifically or they just came up with it on the fly?
Hüller would only do the scene if she could sing that song.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly, for an interview with Ryan Gosling, said she would only do the karaoke scene if she could sing that song.
Wow.
And Gosling's like, are you serious? How are we going to clear this thing?
Yeah.
But I guess I can't remember what it was, but somebody actually knew Styles, and they were able to kind of get him to give the thumbs up for its use.
Oh, cool. Wow, it fits the movie perfectly. I don't know if she did that on purpose or not, but it fits.
Yeah. I know for me, too, I think Olivia Rodrigo is like in that basket for me. Of people like, am I going to listen to this? And I hear a few songs and I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Gosh dang it. So.
What about you, Matt? Do you have a karaoke jam, a go-to?
I think I haven't done karaoke, probably since the last time we did it at the old Japanica or whatever it was.
Yeah.
When the guy sang Rick Astley and we got rickrolled.
Yeah.
I think it was Eddie Money was what I sang. Take Me Home Tonight is what I sang for karaoke. So there you go. I guess that's what I would do again if it ever came up.
I would probably nowadays go with some kind of Bowie song, obviously.
Something super obscure, like from Low that nobody's heard.
No.
Ever.
I would do like a Let's Dance or a China Girl, but my go-to for the longest time was Jermaine Stewart's "We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off" for a good time.
That's right.
But I dirty it up.
You graced us with that performance, I believe.
Certainly did.
You don't have video of that, do you?
No, unfortunately, or thankfully.
Unfortunately, no.
Gosh dang it.
Thankfully, now. So, yeah. All right. Well, I mean, okay. Project Hail Mary, from what I understand, too, they optioned this before the book was even released. The studio, because jumped on it. And Gosling has been attached to this thing since the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is fun. This is back in 2020. And I got to say, it's very, very good. I think maybe it aims to please a little too much by the end for me. And I think that's going to keep it from hitting A territory. I'm sitting at a B+ right now. But I think Lord Miller do a fine job of kind of capturing that friendly kind of crowd-pleasing 80s space adventure feel, like the Explorers kind of thing. But the effects are fantastic. It looks great. It's shot really well. Gosling's fantastic in it. So, yeah, I'm sitting at a B+ right now. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a B+ as well. I think it's really well done. It's really enjoyable. I mean, I don't think it's anything, it's not like a pinnacle of the genre or anything like that, but it's a fun film. So a B+ I think is the right grade.
And Darin, what about you? Where do you fall?
Yeah, I think, not to piggyback, but I think a B+ is a perfect, and with the caveat of it can always raise. You guys watch like the first run movies and stuff like that in theaters, and so I think the thing with critics is that I'm jealous, but also kind of I feel sorry. I don't know if the word is like I feel sorry because you watch one movie and then it's on to the next one immediately. You don't have time to really sit with the movie, right, and let it kind of fester. I don't know, like when I first saw Top Gun Maverick, I liked it a lot, but I don't know if I've seen it because my wife was like, "What on a weekend? What do you want to do?" And it was still playing. Let's go see Top Gun Maverick, and I was like, "Well, you never want to go see movies like twice, so let's go see it." So by the third or fourth time I saw Top Gun Maverick, it became one of my favorite movies because all the stuff that I maybe had issues with became pluses for me. And so it became one of those movies that I just fell in love with and found all these nuances. So I just say a B+ with that caveat that if I watch this again and again, chances are I'm probably going to end up liking it a lot more. There's going to be a lot more stuff I pick up on.
You're always entitled to revisit a score. We do it all the time-ish sometimes. Let me ask you, so you've seen Maverick a few times. Here's one thing I struggle with that film, and maybe I'm forgetting or missing something, because though granted I own it, I have not watched it since we saw it in the theater. One of the big conceits of the film is that they need to get the pilots there because a drone can't do the job they need to do. But I could swear that a drone would be the perfect vehicle to accomplish what they need to accomplish in that film. So what am I missing about that? Because everything they do, I'm like, oh, a drone could definitely do that.
Right. Well, I watch a lot of like YouTube reaction videos, and it's funny watching kids watch movies because they're like, why did that have to happen? Or you watch anybody watch horror movies and like, why don't they just do this instead? And it's like, well, if you did that, the movie would be over. And then you'd complain that there's no movie, right? I think the whole point of Top Gun Maverick is the whole thing of, we want to keep the human factor in, which is like the metaphor of the movie, right? Like don't rely on technology when you've got these, it's not the plane, it's the pilot. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the whole point of the movie is keeping that humanity in the cockpit. And so if you just did it with the drone, you could accomplish the mission, but then there'd be no movie. I think that's the only way to really describe it. But you're right.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something or I didn't quite understand. I mean, conceptually, the themes of the film, yes, I totally get that. But that was just something I could never really just get past into my head. And I'm like, wait a minute, what they're describing, a drone would be perfect for that. I don't, nobody would die, everything would be okay, be a lot cheaper.
It's the same thing. Why would you put a blowhole in the Death Star? Like, why would you do that? Like, if you get hung up on that stuff, then it's not really good. So, there's a level that you need to remove yourself. But I can understand where you're coming from. It's just there would be no movie if they did a drone.
Well, that's fine then. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
As long as that's the reason, I can make peace with it.
Sure.
Well, that's wrapping things up. Any parting thoughts then on Project Hail Mary? Are you gentlemen all set with that? Or Matt, you're nodding your head. I think that's yes.
I'm all set. I mean, go out and check it out.
Matt calls it the new Shawshank Redemption. It will be eventually on TNT or in the next 5 years.
Yeah, there's a few of those. I mean, 21 Jump Street is on there. Like that thing is on constantly on cable TV.
Right. Well, get out and see this in a theater. You know what I mean? It's like this is the kind of movie you want to see. Don't stay at home and wait to watch this at home. There's no reason for that. Go out and experience this with a crowd. That's all I would say.
Yeah, and the biggest screen you can find, IMAX or Dolby, absolutely, to get the full impact, the full colors, the sound, all of that. Yeah. Agreed. So, Project Hail Mary is currently in theaters now. If you had a chance to see it, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. And before I go into all my closing stuff, again, Darin, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. And then hit us up again. Where can people find you, please?
Just look for me, NostalgiaCast on Twitter, and then Blue Sky. I'm at dwlundberg.bsky.net. So whatever the handle is there, and you'll just find. I try to get people to listen to both podcasts all the time, so you'll find links to the shows constantly there.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a good time to see you.
Thank you.
We got to do it more often. It's ridiculous. And I got to get back on your show as well. So,
yes.
We'll have to find something there.
Well, you guys haven't had guests in a while. Anytime you need a guest, just say, "Hey, Darin," and I'll tell my wife, "Hey, they've asked me to be on this podcast again. We need to go see this movie. I'm sorry." So
twist your arm, right?
That sounds like a plan. In the meantime, obviously, you can check us out at thefirstrun.com. You can find archives of all the old shows. The report card is there. There's even a little player. Hit play, and it'll start rifling through episodes. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. Just do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually, you will find us. And then head over to Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts, that's what it is, right? Yeah, give us a review. It'll help other people find the show. Matt, I'm jumping ahead of myself. What is up next week on the big show?
Well, we're going to kind of loop back around and we're going to check out Ready or Not 2 with the always lovely Samara Weaving. Also, pretty excited to see Sarah Michelle Gellar back in the saddle, so I'm curious to check this out. And then Chris is going to make us watch something from the newest from Julia Durkanow, Alpha, which I know nothing about, but he loved the film. She was the one who made the film about the woman who was into the car, right? Titan, that you love so much.
Yeah, that, and she did Raw.
I love that one. Oh, yeah. Man.
So
since Darin said he likes Titan, I'll have to check it out now.
Oh, it's crazy. I can't remember the last time I squealed or covered my eyes so much in a movie, so that's great.
Good. All right. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Great. I'm looking forward to that. In the meantime, I already told you all the meantime stuff. So please take care of yourselves. We love you all very much. And of course, as always, we will see you all soon. Darin, thanks again for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
you're talking to your doctor, just tell him you have a spiral fracture of the left radius.
No!
Deep breath.